member on LinkedIn, and what are some of the other data points that we can pick up as this member goes through LinkedIn. And for that, I would like to introduce Nancy to you. Nancy is a telecom engineer in Hong Kong. And based on her profile, which is identity, we can pick up about 26 different things, facets on her profile. But for today, I would like to focus on these certain specific things on her profile. She's a telecom engineer. She lives in Hong Kong. She used to be in Shanghai. She studied there. She's working at Flexis. And she's passionate about gaming based on her profile. And that is identity. Now, Nancy goes on the LinkedIn platform and reads different types of articles, visits different company pages, looks for jobs, maybe even applies to certain jobs. He starts following some people, he starts following some leaders. And from there, we can gauge her affinity and her intent on what she really wants to do. And some of the smart inferences that we can make are that she's actively looking for a job because she's applied to 10 jobs recently. She might be interested to move back to Shanghai because she studied in Shanghai and has been in Hong Kong for 3 years. And besides artificial intelligence, she's also very passionate about user engagement because she's reading those type of articles and following authors who write about user engagement. And all of this information put together can be packaged in a way that will help you make better decisions about how you want to engage your workforce or attract talent to your companies. And we will do this by looking at very specifically 5 different examples where we have worked with different companies and governments around the world to bring this to life. The first one is really looking inwards as an organization and analyzing your employees' skill sets. And when you do this, you start to notice that your employees have certain skills for the jobs now, but the jobs of the future may require 30 or 40% more skills. For example, to be a data scientist, you need 10 different skills. Some of the people like data analysts or data specialists in your company may possess 6 or 7 of those skills. And you start choosing and picking these people and start teaching them the remaining 3 or 4 skills so they go on to become a data scientist in the next 12 to 18 months. And that is how you decide how you reskill and upskill your workforce and keep them motivated, keep them interested, and they are ready for jobs of tomorrow, which in turn is better for your organization instead of trying to look for talent outside or trying to think of more creative ways. This is one way. The other way is to look at locations where there is a surplus of talent. And we can analyze this for you because we know the supply of talent based on the profiles. At the same time, we can see the jobs that are being published in a particular location. And yesterday I was at a leading bank in Thailand, and they wanted to hire people with mobile banking experience and people who have done that in the past lives. And they are going to the US to recruit. And they typically went to San Francisco or New York City because that's where these engineers were. And when they looked at some of our data, they noticed that Seattle and Washington DC actually had a lot of supply of the same engineering talent, but the demand was very low. Most companies prefer to go to San Francisco or New York. And then they decided, based on the data, that they should focus their recruitment and hiring efforts on cities like Seattle and Washington DC. And the same can be done around Southeast Asia or in an Asian context as well. Where do we go around our regions to find the right talent where there is more demand but comparatively less supply? The third example I have for you is to really look at what are the skills that are coming up. And we can do this at 2 levels. Let me start by the company level. If you want to look at some of the leading companies in the industry, whether it is SCG or it is True Telecom or it is SCB, by looking at their employees' profile, you can start to understand what are the in-demand skills and what are the upcoming skills. if you want to analyze the skill set at a country level, and we do this, we work a lot with the Singapore government, and we start to understand what are some of the upcoming skills in countries like the US or the UK or Australia, and what do we as a Singapore country need to do to make sure that we are in demand and our professionals and our citizens stay relevant for the jobs of tomorrow. And really understanding how can I either compete better with my peers in my industry, or if I'm in the government or policy making decisions, how do I make better policies to equip my citizens to be relevant for the global workforce of tomorrow? The next example I have for you is for a company who is in manufacturing industry. Company in manufacturing industry had no problem finding people in supply chain or procurement or engineering talent. But they were looking to transform themselves into a digital technology company. They were looking for more digital ways to go to market. And they realized that while they had no challenges attracting the talent which is specific to their industry, no digital talent working for companies like Google and Facebook wanted to work for the manufacturing company. And that is where companies in industries, in very traditional industries, are facing a talent crunch and a talent battle for some of the digital talent with not just companies in their industry, but with companies across all industries. And so the point here is they then went on to brand themselves as an employer of choice for digital talent who is not working in the manufacturing industry. And why is it so attractive to work in the manufacturing industry? Maybe they will be able to do certain projects that other technology companies would not allow them to. Maybe the work environment and the application of the digital skills that they would learn in a manufacturing company could help progress their career even better. So if some of you are working in a traditional industry, how do you brand or rebrand yourselves to attract talent that you usually did not have to attract? And the last example, which is probably again close to a lot of us, is how do we attract people, our citizens, back from overseas? And there are a number of projects that we have done in Thailand, in Singapore and in Malaysia, where people studied in these countries are studied in the local universities but are now employed in the US or the UK or Australia. And due to some reasons, and there could be family reasons, personal reasons, they are very willing to come back to the country and contribute to the country. And this is very close to my heart. And what type of information and knowledge can we bring to you for you to understand where these professionals are? Where are the overseas Thais around the world that would like to come back to Thailand and work for you? And again, these are a number of campaigns that we drive to attract overseas Thais, not just overseas Thais, but overseas Singaporeans back to Singapore, or overseas Malaysians back to Malaysia. And for some of these projects, we work with their governments and leading private institutions in those countries. And the combination of all of this is what leads to Talent Insights. Over the last 4 or 5 years, we have been receiving a number of requests by business leaders, by HR professionals, by government associations, by policy-making bodies to look into LinkedIn data. And they have been asking us for our data so they can make better decisions. And for the first time, we have launched a tool and a platform called LinkedIn Talent Insights, which gives real-time access to each and every one of them and people like you to give and have a sneak peek into our data, understand some of these trends, whether these are trends around skills or location of talent, and what are the decisions that you can make based on data and not intuition anymore. And I thought this was really super relevant for this forum. We have been talking about big data and we've been talking about analytics and how to make the function smarter. And if we talk about talent analytics, I truly believe that there is no other source of data and knowledge better than LinkedIn with 600 million members for you to leverage on to make smarter decisions, and we call it Talent Insights. And really, to prepare for the future of work, we as HR professionals need to take more ownership and understand while the jobs of tomorrow are changing, our job as HR professionals and as business leaders is also changing. It is our responsibility to own the future of our employees. And thus, the HR and the people function needs to work very closely with the business leadership to understand the skills dynamics and what are the jobs and skills of tomorrow. We need to understand data better. We need to learn how to interpret data and analytics so our decisions are not based on instinct or gut or intuition, but they are based on data and analytics for which we can be assured that the future would be safe. And lastly, we need to reshape the culture of an organization and the culture that I would like to call of lifelong learning. A culture of lifelong learning has to become instilled in our own behaviors, because the skills that we learn today may not be as relevant tomorrow, and the skills of tomorrow may not be relevant at some point in future. So how do we build a culture of lifelong learning, that we are always learning and we are always learning to learn about what is changing, what is new, and instill that culture in our people so it is not always the company driving the initiatives but the employees themselves coming up to you and saying, hey, what can I do better? What can I do differently? How do I stay relevant for tomorrow? I understand that the trends are changing. What can I do as a responsible employee to be relevant for tomorrow? And if we can achieve that, I believe we would be in a good place. With that, thank you. It's my pleasure to be here this afternoon and share a little bit of information with you. For those of you who do not have LinkedIn profiles, please find me, or if you have any other questions around the presentation, the data that we share, I'll be happy to share more than you. Have a good afternoon ahead. Thank you.